Ange, great to see you.
Gary, good to see you, mate.
Have a chair.
Thank you, mate. Welcome home, mate.
The difference in the training ground. No, you can't.
No.
It was a place called Mill Hill,
Yeah.
and the training ground was on like a gentle slope, and it was a kind of mud bath most of the year, and it was basically schools pitches.
Yeah.
The game has changed somewhat.
It has, mate. And to be fair, this is something special.
I think people in this country are getting used to hearing an Australian accent talking about football. Where did it all start for you? Where did that interest come from?
We were immigrants, right? That's ostensibly what we were. We went by boat. At that time, Australia was looking for immigrants to help them with the workforce. My dad was an unskilled labourer, so we took that leap. We went there, we stayed in a sort of refugee camp for a little while. Within that context, I had a father who, like every little boy, I wanted to get close to, but he was just working all the time, mate. And the only thing that he kind of kept inside of him from the old country was this love of football.
What was his team?
AEK Athens.
Yeah.
You know, I was born literally maybe a couple of kilometres from the stadium, so that was his club, you know, AEK, and he just loved football, and at the time growing up, that was my connection. I loved that, what it did to him as a person, so I wanted to get close to that, and then we'd sit up, mate, late at night and watch games and most of it was from here, you know, from England, you know.
Really? Yeah.
That was the only football we'd get. Jimmy Hill with Match of the Day. It was a week old footage, but we craved it, mate, and that's where it started.
Yeah. You always wanted to be a footballer first?
I always wanted to be a manager.
Even before you... Really?
Yeah. I love the game. Like, I would get 3-month-old Shoot magazines, Roy the Rovers. I was a massive Liverpool fan. I love Bill Shankly. I love the boot room, the whole stories.
Are you still a Liverpool fan?
Well, I've taken the posters down, mate. Last week. But, you know, that was kind of the fantasy world I built for myself. Everything I did was almost like a precursor to me becoming a coach.
You just had that draw, that appeal always. Yeah. How did it start?
Just by like immersing myself, even when I was a player, in being really curious. I was made captain of the club when I was, I think, 22, so there was obviously a leadership quality I had that I wasn't aware of at the time, where people...
Are you aware of it now?
I'm comfortable in it.
Yeah.
You get me into a room with footballers or in a football environment, I feel comfortable in that space.
Do you think, being an Australian, where it's obviously not their national sport, do you think that's made life more difficult to get to the top in coaching?
Oh, absolutely, mate. 27 years.
Frustrating times?
Yeah, very. Probably about 5-6 years ago, I think I was national team boss Australia, and you know, I had people over here say, "Oh, I've got to introduce you to so and so and so and so." And it was like going to those Hollywood auditions and getting rejected. They just didn't know who I was, and it was so depressing, mate. You go, mate, we've been working 25 years in this game, and I never thought I'd get here, to be honest. Not because of my ability, I just thought no one's going to look that way. It's just not going to happen. I mean, people kept telling me, you're better off getting sacked 3 times in Europe than keep being successful over the other side of the world.
You were successful in lots of roles in club football and international football as well, because you won the Asian Cup, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, the big clubs in your life, if that's the fair way to describe it, have come relatively late compared with probably most top managers.
Massively so. I mean, I've ended up really late in my career managing one of the most famous football clubs in the world in Celtic, and one of the biggest football clubs in the world in Tottenham.
How did Celtic come about?
I think it was, like I said last mistake, I've got to thank Eddie Howe, because I think that was pretty much done. And you know, I think at the end, Eddie, you know, for a number of reasons, just didn't feel comfortable taking the role.
And did you feel like, this is it, this is what I've been waiting for, arriving big European club? Yeah,
I did. I was looking forward to it, because it was kind of the bit that was missing. I'd had the success, I knew I could do the job. It was kind of a moment, you know, me and my wife, we just sat there and said, you know, it's happening, you know, it's finally, you know, the age of 50, whatever I was, 55, 56, it's happening.
Coming from an era where Tottenham have had Mourinho and Conte are renowned for being tactically pretty defensive. How big a deal is it to actually completely change the mindset of a football club?
It is, obviously, because you're changing everything. You're changing the way you train, the information the players are getting. But at the same time, the club was kind of ready for that as well. You know, even the discussions I had with them was about, well, look, if I come in, this is what we're going to do. I'm not going to compromise, and it's going to be scary. It's not going to always be smooth, you know.
In terms of the squad, you came in at a situation, obviously, when their team superstar was pretty evident that he was going to go. You had to plan realistically for life without Harry Kane.
Harry was brilliant throughout, and it's one of those where half of me's gutted because you want to work with the best players, you know. So you go, and he's a hell of a striker. So he was just at the stage of his career, he wanted another challenge, you know, and I can understand that. I mean, that's been my whole career. I've kind of look for challenges. I've moved on all the time. So I was planning sort of without him, and what we need to do is just move on, because I keep saying to footballers all the time, football clubs move on. Doesn't matter who you are, mate. You know, if footballers who retire, I always tell them it's brutal. I said, if I could take you invisibly into a dressing room the day after you retired and see how quickly life moves on.
It's so true.
It is, it's brutal, mate. It's just the nature of football. It doesn't matter who you are, it moves on, and we needed to move on.
How happy are you with the way the team has adapted to your style?
Yeah, pleased. It's easy for me to talk about these things. They've got to execute. They've got to go out there and be brave in the way they play, knowing that there's no certainty of success. It leaves you vulnerable, you know.
Yeah.
All I can do, I keep sort of re-emphasising to the guys, look, if it doesn't work, it's on me, you know. So don't play with any fear. Just go and play. But at the same time, I think if you get your signings right, people see that, and that gives them encouragement. How involved are you
with the signings?
Yeah, very.
Some managers are not involved at all, others are very much involved.
I'm involved right at the end, mate. It's my decision. Yeah. I will not take on a player who I don't believe is going to be a good fit, because ultimately I'll take responsibility. I always am, because like I said, I think that's the first indicator to supporters and observers as to, okay, this guy's talking about what he's going to do. Let's see some evidence of it. And what evidence do you have is maybe the way the team plays, although that takes time. Another bit of evidence is the players that you bring in, because if they excite the fans, that compensates for maybe, okay, the results aren't always there. So that's always a key part of it.
Well, it's been a good start. You've been awarded Manager of the Month as well. So congratulations on that, Ange. Much deserved. And also the Player of the Month is a certain James Maddison, who you basically stole from my club, Leicester. But if it's going to go anywhere, I'm very happy it was with you at Tottenham. Yeah. How impressed with him have you been?
That was almost a zero risk
Absolutely,
because he's a top player, and I could see that. I've made him one of the leaders, and he's embraced that role. So, you know, like I said, I'm no genius for picking him out as a player. I mean, anyone could. He's a top player. He's got that quality where you just, as the ball's arriving to him, you're going, okay, something's going to happen, you know.
What do you like in terms of your man-to-man management, which is obviously incredibly important? Are you more stick or more carrot?
I'm pretty notorious for keeping a distance. You know, there's plenty of stories of me going around where players said, you know, I've literally spoken to him 5 minutes in 2 years. But
why is that?
That's my space where I can continually make the best decisions, I believe, for what we need without. I just think it's human nature for a person like me, if I get too close to somebody, that's going to affect my decision making. And sometimes I've got to make really difficult decisions. Yeah. And I don't want them tainted by anything other than, or driven by anything other than what's best for the football club.
What's your goal for Tottenham?
To get the fans buzzing for the club, mate. That's it. And if I do that, that means probably that we've had success. What that success looks like, I don't know.
They'd love a trophy, you know, it's been a while.
Yeah, but there can't be a desperation for just a trophy. Yeah. This club's got to be more than that. I know why there's such a desperation, because it's been such a long drought, but it's not what I want to build. I want to build a club that every year is fighting for trophies.
Yeah. It's a crazy job, really, isn't it?
It is, but I love it.
Yeah.
You know, 27 years, Gary, and I had a sort of 13-month period where I was out of work. I was doing your punditry work, which was okay. It's the most unhappiest I've been in my career, the time where I wasn't working. So I always use that as a reference point. Doesn't matter how difficult the job gets, I know I'll be a hell of a lot more unhappy if I'm not in the role. So, mate, I love it. I love all of it.
Yeah, you really do seem like you're enjoying it.
I am.
Yeah.
Why not, mate?
Yeah.
What's there not to enjoy? Yeah?
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you continued success this season.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.